Hello, welcome to another Ready and Roll video. Today, I'm gonna be doing a little bit more on a game that I've sort of fallen back down the rabbit hole of enjoying, and that is, as you can tell, Mork Borg. Um, so we've already covered this game very briefly in a short, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth on what Mork Borg is because I only that short was, well, a short. It was a minute long, and well, I think it did a good job of saying what Mork Borg is stylistically and giving you a rough idea of what to expect. It's very heavy metal, it's rules light, it's an OSR game and all that. But there is more to it. There is definitely more to Mork Borg than that. Um, and I really like this book, so I wanted to show it off a little bit more and have a little flip through it and talk about it, a little bit more. And maybe down the road I will do a small solo campaign using some of the supplementary materials that you can get from Mork Borg, much like this little book here, and the solitary defilement supplement that lets you play it solo. So anyway, yeah, I we will talk about this later, maybe in another video. This is Heretic, the sort of supplementary zine from Mork Borg. There's a few of these now, including Firatory and other things, both from the original creators of Mork Borg and um, a lot of just fans of Mork Borg who have created content for the game published on places like itch.io that Stockholm Cartel have sort of gathered up and put into a handy little thing like this. So yeah, we'll definitely cover this at a later date. But today I want to just focus on the core rulebook. So Mork Borg's core rulebook is quite simple. It's quite a thin book compared to you say Dungeons and Dragons and Starfinders. It's only it's about 80 odd pages long. Um, so it's I think 71 pages for the core rules, and then uh, a few extra pages for your uh, introductory quest and your like appendices. So yeah, it's a fairly slight book. Uh, I I I I hear a lot of people online talking about how it's a hard book to get into, and I will agree. Not only because of the um, color choices, it's quite a visual assault. Um, I would say visual treat, but and it definitely is a visual treat that's I don't know if that will get us to monetize that image. Not that we are monetized, but you know what I mean. And it is a visual treat, but there's a lot of contrasting colors, like that, for example. That is painful to my eyes, like almost genuinely uncomfortable to read. I remember one of the first times I tried to read this book, I did give myself a migraine just because it was just there was so much of this book to read that was just different fonts and different um, contrasting colors on top of each other. Like most of it is black on white or white on black, but occasionally you've got this hot neon pink on white, which isn't ideal for some, including me. And then you've got uh, black text on a yellow background, which again is better, but still not comfortable, and yellow on black is also, that hurts my eyes. But yeah, it's a hard book to read, not only because it's hard to read the text straight out, but it's also laid out in a way that would make you think, do the guys that wrote this want you to play it? Or are they just like, yep, this is an art piece? Which I think a good chunk of it is just an art piece. Um, but I think once you get your head around the the way it's done, I think it's quite easy to read. Um, it just takes maybe a little, time. Read through it once or twice before going into it proper. Maybe do a little bit of YouTube searching, bit of Google searching, look on blogs and things like that. Because there are guides for this book, and that's sort of what I hope to do here today. Because it is a great book with a lot of good stuff in it. Because I, you know, I found myself over the last few years enjoying um, games like D&D less and less. I think mostly because I've just played them loads, and I've sort of got tired of the bog standard high fantasy setting that most games use. Um, and maybe that's due to overexposure. Maybe that's just due to me being a bit of a hipster dickhead sometimes. um, excuse me. But I also think it's just, you know, one of those things where sometimes you want to try different things. And that for me sort of started before lockdown, where I was like, oh yeah, there's other games out there that I kind of like to try, but didn't. And then lockdown happened, and I sort of dove headfirst, both in regards to ttrpgs and tabletop war games, into what else is out there. What else can I, you know, what other games can I play that aren't your usual Warhammer and Dungeons and Dragons, and that's sort of what I wanted to do with this channel, which is why this is here now. And it sparked this wonderful little search, and one day I just discovered this. I think I just stumbled across it in Orc's Nest, um, and I saw the cover, and I was immediately enamored by it because it's not like any other RPG cover that I'd seen at the time. Um, and more and more RPGs sort of copying this style. There's the whole OSR movement in TTRPGs and the 28 movement in tabletop war games. So a lot of games are moving, trying out this very harsh style, this very rules light, crunchy, um, quite lethal game system. So yeah, but this stuck out to me. It was very up my alley in terms of its outward appearance, and I went away, got some lunch, and did a little bit of research, and realized, oh, this book looks cool. Um, Unfortunately, I think by the time I went back to it a few weeks later, because I only go into Orc's Nest every few weeks or so because it's in central London, it was gone. So I had to make do for a good while with the PDF version of this book. And yeah, this book this book, especially in this format, does not work for me in PDF. They do have a plain text version of this book, which is great. Whether you've got this book physically or you've just got the PDF, they do a plain text version that is, easy to read, for one thing. At least visually easy to read. It's still, things are still laid out in the same order. So it's very much, here's your world building, here's character creation, here's some more world building, and then you start getting to optional classes, which I think is cool. I do like the fact that the classes are optional. Your beasts. I love the art. I love the goblins. I love Mork Borg goblins. Weird tangent. Like, they're awful looking. They are truly awful looking, and I'm not sure if that's just a bit of cloth or something else. Something else that's hidden in shadow. It could be that. Yeah, the art is astonishingly good for this game, and it's unpleasant too. Like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Like, Mork Borg and its whole sort of family of games, including this and Ferratory and other games. If you realize, maybe I'm not keen on this whole OSR thing, maybe this isn't the game for me. If you're into like dark, gothic, heavy metal style artwork, this is just a good set of books to own, just to have for like visual inspiration. Maybe you're a graphic designer or an artist yourself. Like, where is it? In all of Mork Borg, there we go. This is one of my favorite pieces. I love how striking that is. But yeah, it going back to the topic of, it's a difficult thing to wrap your brain around. It can be, but I think once you've wrapped your brain around it, it's so easy to digest, because it doesn't, even though it doesn't have a table of contents, which I think all books should have, especially like ttrpgs. Even if you're just a little zine inspired thing like this, just a small table of contents would be nice. Though in the back it does have its index, which basically, gives you everything you need. It's just here in the back instead of up front. So that's kind of weird. But I can, if you know that up front, the if you're trying to navigate the book, just flip to the back. And also, in terms of the rules, there's not much else that's not covered in these two like yellow pages. Like, all the rules you need really are here, besides maybe a few extra bits of character creation. It is a very, very easy game once you've got past this weird art piece. Once you've trudged through this wonderful weird art piece of a book, you can fairly easily navigate to the bits you need. Not least because it's got this lovely little bookmark tassel. So if you've got a specific thing that you're regularly looking back on, like for me right now, it's hit points, which is toughness plus D8. Um, it's not hard. It really isn't a hard game, which is much like any really OSR game. You know, they're all relatively rules light, um, devoid of much in the way of balance. Which, if that's if you like your games to explain every little nuanced detail of how to stab a dragon, this ain't gonna be the game for you, I don't think. Like if you have an idea for something and like to have that idea have specific rules dictated to you, this really isn't going to be the game for you. But if you like going into games and going, okay, there's almost no rules for this thing that we're trying to do, so let's try and let's try and figure it out. Let's look at what roles we can make and how we'd go about them, because Mork Borg as a game only has 4 stats. You're not going to be rolling skills or anything like that. It's just agility, presence, strength, and toughness. That's it. There's no lock picking or stealth or anything like that. It's just these skills and how you interpret each activity that you do within a single session, and assigning them to these 4 things. And it's I can imagine, that would be daunting, and it can be, but also again, once you get around the fact that it's simple to the point of being a little bit barren, you're set, really. And I personally love that. I personally love, especially as a GM, I love giving my players a rule set and an idea, and rather than going, hey, you want to do this, so make me this role. Occasionally, I do love going, okay, what role do you think that is? Because I think it's so easy in a ttrpg to have the GM do everything in terms of the world building and the dictating of roles. But I love going, okay, this is a joint storytelling effort. You know, I've laid the groundwork for it, but tell me what you're, rather than me going, okay, you see this, and this. I mean, just in a recent Starfinder episode, I won't spoil too much, but instead of going, hey, you see these things, I go, okay, this is an element from your backstory. You tell me what you see. Where are you? What are you seeing? And I love that because, that then makes the players more invested in the world, because it's not just something I've created. It's their creation then too. There's that little element of the game space that they've created, just for them, just for their character. And it's something that I want to do more and more of as I go through the campaign with each player, because again, I haven't been given too much backstory for each character. So where possible, I want to go, okay, let's get a little bit of that, a little bit of those goodies. um Yeah, and that's why I think OSR and especially Mork Borg, with its art style, appeals to me. And yeah, it's such a pretty game. I know I've said that a lot in this video, but it really is. I think in future videos, I might have a crack at doing a solo campaign, as I mentioned, with the solitary defilement rules. Though I do the rules for solitary defilement do suggest having territory for the overland exploration rules that come in that book. So I do need to try and get my hands on that, either physical or PDF. But yeah, I might go through character creation for that, and that'll probably, I'll probably make a classless character. But if you do want to make a class, it's not too different. I think you just gone too far. You mostly just switch out your what sort of dice you roll. So if you're creating a class, you might be adding or subtracting modifiers to your dice rolls to get your stat blocks, rather than just 4d6 drop the lowest. You might have 3d6 and then pluses and minuses for each stat. So that might be something. But just for simplicity, even though a lot of people have said they do sort of recommend the classes for a more interesting time, it might be something that I do going forward. But I think just to get started, I will just see what the base stuff is like. But yeah, if you want a book that is dripping with style, very much style over substance. The substance is good and it's there, but as I say, you could write out the rules on this for this book on a single sheet of A4. Like every single major rule of this game could be on an A4 sheet. Maybe not including the character creation rules, but even then, that's easily like a A4 sheet max again. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, do the button thingies, like and subscribe and all that. And if you like this specific video, do say. And I will probably continue expanding on this wonderful little area of the hobby, including Heretic. I've also been looking at Forbidden Psalm, which is a tabletop skirmish game that's heavily based on the world of Mork Borg. Though I only have the PDF for that at the moment, so I don't know if I'd do a full review of it like I am here. But I'll probably do a video on it, whether I can get my hands on the physical copy or not. It'll just be, slightly different format. But yeah, thank you for watching this, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.